Do it yourself or have an expert set it up for you with new Pro Install. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplysafe.com/radio. There's no safe like Simply.
We've got your local sports fix. Weekdays at 5, it's all sports talk with Monty Hale Jr. and Tim Tackett here on WGNS. The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
And good morning and welcome to the WGNS Roundtable with your host, Rick Hall, and myself, Wayne Blair. We come to you every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock with a focus on the northern end of our county community. Brother Rick has taken a few days off, so he won't be here with us today, but he'll be literally back in the saddle next Tuesday. So hope everyone had a great weekend. Saturday was certainly beautiful, and this morning we're getting some much-needed rain, and so hopefully it'll be a good day all in all. Have a great guest with us this morning, Dr. Annie Ralston, who is the Special Education District Coordinator for Rutherford County Schools. Dr. Ralston, we're just really pleased to have you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we try to concentrate on the northern end of our county community, but a position like yours, you and your efforts and your staff affect the entire county community, and it's just neat to have you. And as we spoke before the show, special education due to a speech impediment that I had as a child, is very near and dear to my heart. Being in a pull-out program and going to see a therapist at the old central office on Memorial. This is a special opportunity to talk with you this morning.
Absolutely. I can't wait. This is fun.
Yeah. Well, Rick and I try to get our guests to tell a little bit about themselves in the first segment, and if you're willing to do that.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, and so I went to Overton High School. My dad was a principal in Nashville, Metro Nashville, retired from there. He was the principal of Antioch High School. And then my grandfather was he worked in Metro schools as well. He actually played basketball at MTSU. And then
blue.
Yes, absolutely. But he worked in Metro Nashville, and then he moved to Franklin Road Academy as the headmaster. And so school was always something we loved, and we were always at a school. When we were growing up, my dad coached basketball. And so me and my brother and my sister would go to the games, but we went to the games to go sit in Dad's office and pretend like we were playing school. And so I just knew it was already in my blood. So when I went to college, I didn't focus on it right away. I fought it, and I went into political science. But then I went back. I knew I'd made an error, and I went back and got my master's in education and then my doctorate. But I started teaching in Metro at McMurray Middle, 7th grade social studies, and spent a couple years there. And then a job opened up at Las Casas. And it was 8th grade social studies. And so I just hightailed it to Las Casas. And so I joke all the time that I went from my school building surrounded by asphalt to a school building surrounded by green acres. And it was just beautiful. I loved Las Casas.
It is beautiful.
And then they moved us, because we went through that transition in 2010 from being a K-8 school, and there were several in the district, to going to a K-5 and then a 6 through 8 middle school. And so that's when I moved over to Oakland Middle School. And Sandra Eaton was our principal at that time. And she is wonderful. So I taught 8th grade social studies there. and loved it, and then moved up to be the assistant principal at Oakland Middle.
Okay.
So I was there for quite a while, and then in 2017, in March, I realized that year that I needed to grow a little bit more in just my craft, and I'm always looking to improve myself and my job and what I do. And so I wanted to grow, and I needed to do it in a big way. So I moved to Williamson County, and I learned a different system, a different way of doing things. Not to say it's better or worse, it was just different. I went to Heritage Middle in Thompson Station, and then this job opened up. And so I am now sitting in my absolute dream job.
Wow.
Yes, as the coordinator of special education. So
you were telling me about your husband earlier too?
yes, so I am married, and we have a farm, and so we have llamas and hay, and he was in the police department, the sheriff's department, for a while. He started in Smyrna PD and then moved to the sheriff's department, and now he's farming, and so he loves it, and we just have tractors and things going through our yard all the time.
How many acres do you possess?
Well, we are on his family farm, so we're about to hit 100 years here in a couple years, and it's about 330.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
That
so-
takes a while to mow.
It does, just a little bit. And so, but he loves it. He loves being out on the tractor and working in the field. Now, come August, it's going to get really hot. That's when it gets real hard.
The dog days will take its toll.
Yes.
We've been experiencing such mild weather, and the heat and humidity that we're noted for is just right around the corner.
Oh, yes, it's going to smack us in the face.
So llamas, I don't want to get off track because
Yeah.
we're here to talk about special education, but llamas?
Yes, we have about 10 llamas. We started with 4, and then, of course, babies happen, and so we have a really cute little baby right now. But they're great. They clean up the grass. We have a U-shaped field around one of the houses, and that's where they are. And they just clean those fields up, and they're funny. They were out playing. The younger ones were out playing chase yesterday afternoon.
So as far is there a profit?
No, not at all. Not at all.
They're kind of like sheep. They're just there to eat.
Yes, absolutely. And they're funny to watch. It's relaxing to go out there and just watch them in the field and watch them play and all of that. So they have a good time.
I suspect that'd be a pretty neat field trip also for children as well.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you get a chance to go see llamas or sheep or goats, I mean, the kids just love it.
Why don't we talk about the way your department is set up at Rutherford County Schools? Of course, Dr. Sullivan is the big guy.
He is, yes.
And you're the coordinator for that department. Kind of give us the lay of the land on special education in Rutherford County, if you will.
Absolutely. So special education in Rutherford County falls under the federal programs. So that is Dr. Mark Goulian, who is the director of all federal programs in Rutherford County. And then, of course, we all work under Dr. Sullivan. And so because we get federal money with IDEA, that's why we are in that federal programs area. In the department, in the special education department, there's my role, which is the coordinator, and then right below me are 5 supervisors, and those supervisors oversee many different things. They are busy. So they oversee different feeder pattern groups. So like the Riverdale feeder pattern, the Rockvale feeder pattern, we've divided those up, so they oversee all of those. So if there's an immediate question or immediate need that the principal can't get me or can't get their coach, then they go straight to the supervisor. And then they also oversee all of the related services. So earlier you were talking about the speech service you received. So those are our speech language pathologists, and those fall under one of our supervisors. Then underneath our supervisors, we have our coaches, and every school feeder pattern has a special education coach that works with them, and that person works with the teachers and training them up on how to write really good IEPs, how to run a really well-run IEP meeting, how to work with students in intervention classes, things like that. And then they also have a behavior specialist that works with them. And so that behavior specialist works with not only, some of our behavior classrooms, but they work with students before they get into those behavior classrooms. Like, how can we meet their needs in the general education classroom? Because that's what we want. We want all of the kids to be in their least restrictive environment.
Sure.
And then right underneath also our supervisors are our leads. So we have a lead person for all of our related services. So we have a lead speech language pathologist, a lead school psychologist, a lead behavior specialist, a lead social worker, a lead occupational therapist, and a lead physical therapist. And so they all meet with me as well as the leadership team.
So the difference, your K through 5 facility, your middle school, and your high school. So how would those each? I know they're all different because they all have different. They're all at capacity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
How are they set up at each location?
At each school?
Yes, ma'am.
So we also have the IPK. So we serve kids that are 3 or 4 right before they get into elementary school as well.
Okay.
And that's an inclusive model. So we have a lot of students who have some intervention needs, and we go on and start serving them early, so that way they can progress each year and stay in their least restrictive environment once they get to that kindergarten and first grade time. With elementary schools, we have, are you talking about the teachers that we have in the elementary
Yes,
schools?
ma'am.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
perfect. Okay. So I don't know if you're aware, but Rutherford County has the best special education teachers.
Well, that would have been my opinion even before you sat down.
Oh, 100%. So our teachers do a fabulous job in the buildings. Each school has their own lead special education teacher, and they meet with me once a month to get any new updates from the state or any new procedures or anything that we're going to carry out in Rutherford County. Then they disseminate that information with their teams in their buildings. So it depends on the size of the school and what their needs are, but many of our schools have multiple structured setting classrooms, which is what the old term CDC, those classrooms are. We also have many intervention and inclusion teachers, and then we have some behavior teachers in certain specific schools. So in our elementary schools, and then we also have the IPK teachers, and of course our amazing educational assistants who serve all of our kids.
Certainly.
Absolutely. So then middle schools are set up very similar. And then high schools, we have what's called the RISE program in a lot of our larger high schools. The RISE program has a special education teacher running it, and it is a class that is all about helping the kids de-escalate that may have some trouble, calming down or getting into that right state to where they can get information in and learn. If you're at a heightened state, the learning then goes
Sure.
out the window.
Kind of like being hungry.
Oh, absolutely. Hangry is a real thing. And so the RISE classrooms are wonderful, but they are specific to our high schools. And so they'll serve those students. And what they really do is those students will come to them. A lot of times they'll advocate for themselves and say, hey, I need to go to the RISE class and calm down. They'll go to the RISE class, that teacher or that behavior educational assistants in the room, and they will help that student de-escalate and calm down to where they can get back into the classroom. Because that's our goal, for them to be able to come out, do what they need to do to get to the right frame of mind, and then get back into that classroom to learn from that specific teacher.
Cool. I'm having a senior moment right now. I had a question on my mind, and it kind of just flew away.
There you go. It happens to everybody. So I did want to mention that we also have a transition program. So for those kids who, after they hit 18 and until they are 22, they get to stay in Rutherford County schools if they are on like an alt diploma track or something like that. So we have the Project Search, which is at Embassy Suites, and we have several students who go work at Embassy Suites. They take class at Embassy Suites, and then they work in the program there. And then they come out, many of them, I think we're almost up to 100%. I think we're missing just a couple, but they come out with jobs already when they're done. So that's
cool.
awesome. We also have the Transition Academy. The Transition Academy is a house that is over by MTSU. It has an amazing staff there. It's a teacher and several EAs that work over there. And those students they're learning about the community and how to be successful in the community. And then they go on to then get jobs and things, or go into that Project Search class as well.
I remember now.
Okay, I'm ready.
How's a student or child, how are they screened into the system to determine what level of challenge that they possess? Would that be a way to state it?
Yeah, absolutely. So if somebody suspects, that there's something going on, that there's a bigger challenge than just needing some additional time for homework or something, then we may need to do an evaluation. Well, so the teacher can call it's called a SAT, a student assistance team. So a teacher can call that meeting, or a parent can, or even the student can, and say, hey, I really think something's going on. I may need some more help. And so what happens is the team gets around a table. So the parent, the teacher, a school psychologist, sometimes a counselor, special education team, they will get around a table and they will determine if an evaluation needs to take place. And what type of evaluations? There's many different types. There's evaluating for speech, and there's many different ones under that. There's evaluating for your cognitive scores, things like that. So they will determine as a team what evaluations need to take place, and if any, and then they will go through the evaluation process. And so from the signing of consent to assess until we have those results, it's a 60-day timeline. And so then the team comes back together, and any other members of the team that because of the evaluation, because as you go through the evaluation, you may pick up on other things that are needed. You may need an occupational therapist there. You may need a physical therapist there. You get everybody who's needed around that table to talk just about that kid and about what that kid's needs are and how can we meet them. And then the team looks over that evaluation and determines whether an IEP, an individualized education plan, is needed, or if something different, if they just need some RTI services or something like that. If the IEP is needed, they write the IEP. And then they have 30 days to get that IEP written, and then it goes into effect. And it's great. It's really an awesome process when everybody is involved and everybody is just talking about that one kid.
Sure.
And think about how many kids we've got in Rutherford County and how many kids we get the opportunity to serve. Sure. And so to talk about one kid for those different meetings and to really focus in on what their needs are it's a pretty magical experience.
I expect so. So with a little over 50,000 students.
That's right.
In just Rutherford County schools, not including Murfreesboro City. Mm-hmm. How many students would be classified as having to need your services?
Perfect. So we have about 13 to 14% of the student population has an individualized education plan.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And I think most people really don't understand the all the different disabilities, if you will,
Sure.
That you and your staff take care of.
Absolutely. So there's several different categories of disabilities that the state of Tennessee recognizes. So we have developmentally disabled, we have speech impaired, vision impaired, traumatic brain injury. We have other health impaired. We also have a specific learning disability, and that could be a specific learning disability in math calculation, math problem solving, basic reading, reading comprehension, or reading fluency. And then we have deaf or blind. And that, I mean, we have just a whole plethora of intellectually disabled.
Sure.
We have several different categories that we look at when we are evaluating a student.
So, with a large immigrant population,
Sure.
or English, maybe not even as a second language yet,
Sure.
because they're so new to the States. How do you deal with that issue?
Absolutely. So we work very closely, and our plan is to work even closer this next year with the EL department, which their new coordinator is Megan Turnbow, and she and I work very closely together. We've already started with trying to help all of the students, because that's what we're all here for, is
Sure.
all the kids. And so we have several students who do have, they originally had a different language than English when it's spoken in their home. And that's how they learned how to speak. And so we want to, if we are evaluating them, we do our best to evaluate in a native language, or at least provide some of the words and phrases in the native language. With parents, we involve a translator, and we also involve a translation of documents if it's available. It's very important for us, and for that, it's a big push for me specifically, for parents to be involved. And so if they can't understand because of a language barrier, let me fix that. So that way you can be involved and understand the process.
You said earlier that you were part of the federal program.
Mm-hmm.
So are there federal dollars that flow into your program, or are they mostly local dollars?
Both. So we have two different buckets of money, if you will. We have the general purpose fund, which is what is funded through local funds. And then we have IDEA, which are the federal dollars. And that money is, supposed to be supplemental to the general purpose fund. And so with that, you have to turn in a lot of reporting and things like that to the State Department, because they have to then report it to the federal government. So it's, it is what it is. It's IDEA.
Well, it all gets commingled, I guess, doesn't it? So,
it does.
As long as it's, for our students, who cares where it comes from, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're here at the first break. We're here with Dr. Annie Ralston, with the who is the Special Education District Coordinator for Rutherford County Schools, and we'll be right back here in just a few minutes.
Imagine life without the debilitating pain of knee osteoarthritis. Do you have pain when walking?
My knee hurts so bad.
Discomfort when going up or down stairs? Getting out of bed in the morning?
It hurts to get up in the morning.
You're not alone. The good news is there is a true breakthrough in treating disabling knee pain that may help you gain your life back again. Dr. Zach DeMartson of Aspiring Health Clinic offers cutting-edge treatment and technology that helps pain sufferers avoid knee replacement and stay active in their senior years. This breakthrough treatment is non-surgical and drug-free. Knee osteoarthritis won't go away on its own, and it will get progressively worse.
Oh, my knee.
So don't wait until you need assistance to get around. Call now for your consultation and examination. Call 629-231-8309. Again, 629-231-8309. Aspiring Health Clinic in Murfreesboro. 629-231-8309.
Looking for a charming home close to downtown and MTSU? Look no further than this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 0-lot line at 1341 Sharon Court. This home features a spacious living room, an open kitchen, and a primary suite on the main floor. It could be perfect for a family or a couple who wants to live in the middle of everything while still in a private neighborhood. Call for a showing today, 615-542-1915. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
Here's a question. What do you want from your electric co-op?
Fast response if the power goes out.
An app that keeps me informed. Tips to lower my monthly bill.
Communication on things that matter to me.
Done, 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 done.
I want to know everything.
Everything? Well, young lady, let me show you the MyMTE app. Energy Service Life. That's Middle Tennessee Electric. We're here to get done what matters most to you. Learn more at mte.com.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Del's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2023. Save 60%. Code 2023. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
It's Good Neighbor Events. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control, Cardinal Realty Solutions, and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
You've probably heard it a million times. If you're injured, call a lawyer. And you probably haven't because you don't know how much it will cost, how long it will take, or even if you have a case. At the law offices of John Day, we provide a free initial consultation because we understand that folks don't want to pay a lawyer only to find out they don't have a case. If you think we can help, we do so on a contingency basis, which means we only get paid if you do. Seriously injured? Call me, John Day.
WGNS encourages you to shop local. It helps our local economy. And Shrek the Musical wraps up this coming weekend at the Center for the Arts in Uptown Murfreesboro. This weekend also brings Boat Day with the Stones River Watershed Association. It's free, and it's 9 until noon on Saturday. They have everything you need, from paddles to life jackets, everything. It's all at the Manson Pike Trailhead on Searcy Street, right there at the river on Medical Center Parkway. And Boat Day is 9 until noon this Saturday. And Darren's Heart in Motion Car and Bike Show is also this Saturday at the SRM Concrete Corporate Headquarters. That's right off I-840 at 1000 Hollingshead Circle, just one exit away from the Nashville Superspeedway. That's this Saturday morning from 8 o'clock until 1 in the afternoon. And for all the Good Neighbor events, go to our website, WGNSradio.com, and click the events page. And for now, those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good Neighbor weather. Periods of showers and storms this afternoon with cloudy skies, a high in the low 80s. Tonight, chance for rain showers and storms, a low of 65. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 69.
WGNS powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Looking to go solar? MTE's Pro Solar program is committed to educating members on the process and helping them achieve their renewable energy goals. Learn more about Pro Solar and your free consultation at mte.com/prosolar.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning and welcome back to the second segment of the WGNS Roundtable with your host, Rick Hall, and I'm Wayne Blair. And, of course, Rick's not with us today, but we'll be back next Tuesday. Our guest this morning is Dr. Annie Ralston, who is the Special Education District Coordinator for Rutherford County Schools. And I think we were going to start off this segment to talk about maybe some residual effects of COVID, behavior issues.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm very happy to talk about that. So how often do you hear somebody say they're very happy to talk about behavior?
Well, you may be the first, Dr. Ralston.
All right. Well, I think it's because I'm so excited about what we are putting into place for next year, for this upcoming school year. We did this past year, that was a big issue at several of our board meetings. It was brought up about behavior and the behaviors in the schools and how they're more, the behaviors are just bigger, like a little bit, they're more aggressive. They're, and in a big way. Mm-hmm. And so, when we looked at the data on where the behaviors were taking place, was it elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, or was it across the board? And it ended up, there are some in middle and high, of course, because kids are kids, right?
Sure.
But there's an exceptional amount of behaviors that were happening in the elementary schools. So a team of people at central office that included people from all different departments, my department in special education, social work, counselors, instruction, the superintendent's office, everybody got together and we were trying to problem solve and be able to help our students and our teachers in those buildings. And so when we look at that RISE model that I was talking about earlier in our high schools, where we were working with kids to help them advocate for themselves and help them de-escalate, we found that it may be a good idea to start it in the elementary schools, teaching them how to de-escalate, giving them a calm down area, giving them a space where they can go if they're starting to get a little bit escalated, calm down, and then get right back into that reading class or that math class or whatever, once their mind is in a good, calm state and ready to learn. So we are starting the reset rooms in lots of our elementary schools. They're going to have a teacher and personnel that's going to be able to go into the general education classes and work with kids, because that's where we want them to be.
Sure.
But if they need to go to a kind of a cozy corner or a calm down space, they can go do that. And I think what it's going to do is it's going to teach them not only coping skills, but it's also going to teach them advocacy and how to advocate for themselves earlier than what we have seen in the past. With COVID, and I know that's the ugly C word, but it did, it had a big effect on kids, especially, and those kids are, they're going from grade to grade with having missed a lot of that fundamental learning on how to be in a classroom, how to work with others, what to do when I feel overwhelmed, and then what to do when I feel overwhelmed, but I don't know what I feel. Mm-hmm. And so teaching them, just it's okay to be overwhelmed, but here's how you can handle it. Here's a way, or here's multiple ways, and what works best for you, and working that way.
A child that, for whatever reason, things that are happening at home, things that are happening at school, a child that just shuts down and just will not cooperate in any aspect. How do you handle that?
So, well, I have quite a bit of experience with that because so we
bless your heart then.
But I just love them. So kids, teachers, all adults, we all come to work or school with an invisible backpack on. And in that backpack you carry either you didn't get breakfast that morning, or you had a fight with somebody the night before, or something like that. You carry all that with you the very next day that you go into your job or school or daycare, anything. And so we don't know what's in everybody's invisible backpack. right? So we just have to be kind, and approach students who seem to be shutting down, to seem to be having a hard time, with that grace. And that kindness of, I'm here to help you. I don't want to come down hard on you.
Sure.
So what can I do to help you? Or does it mean that, is this a student that you've already built that relationship with, and you know when they are in that state, that they just need a little bit of space and some time to gather their thoughts, and then you just leave them alone and let them gather their thoughts. Constantly asking a child, okay, are you feeling better now? Are you feeling better now? That just eggs a child on, and like it just. To me as an adult, I think that would get very annoying. So for a student who's already at a heightened state when they come in, why do that?
Sure.
So, if the goal is to get them to do the work, do this worksheet that's in front of you, do this assignment, and they're already in that area where they need to just have a cool down, have a de-escalation moment. You're not really winning anything. That kid's not learning.
Sure.
All they're learning is that you're not helping them. So that's what we want to do, is to just give them the same grace that I would want.
Sure.
If I was having a hard day.
I know. I presume that the mission is to try to mainstream all children together whenever possible, or you actually do, no matter what. I remember as a child, of course it's a long time ago, but with a speech impediment, when you have a challenge, there's a tendency, especially I think in the elementary schools, to mock or make fun or imitate someone that possesses a challenge. How do you deal with that issue?
Well, so
I guess that's a form of bullying, but
it is.
But
and it's wrong.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely. So, I in my current role that I'm in, I do not have to deal with that as much. But the role that I was just in prior to August was as an assistant principal, and I would have to deal with situations like that whenever they came up. Now, because I was in a middle school setting, it actually wasn't as frequent. But when they did come up, it was something that, because my heart is with special education and with students, I came down pretty hard on stuff like that. It wasn't something that I was willing to let go. With just now, it was no, we're gonna handle the situation.
Well, if they could ever walk in their shoes.
Absolutely. Well, and it's sometimes you just have to educate students on what empathy is and understanding. And you're not perfect. Yeah.
Well, none of us have been
at all
so far. Just with some of these children needing so much, it's just I would think it'd be hard not to take that home with you sometimes.
Mm-hmm. It is, and there's kids that you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about, and they're on your heart, and
sure.
And it doesn't matter. There's kids that I had years ago when I was teaching that I still wake up and think, gosh, I hope they're doing okay.
Sure.
So whenever I see kids that are out at like the grocery store or anything like that, that I had as a student, and now they're pushing their babies around in a stroller. Number one, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, I have not aged a day, but you are like so grown. Yeah. But then it's so good to just see them and talk to them and know what they're doing, and I can tell them I'm so proud of them, so. That it is hard to not take stuff home, and especially for the special education staff who work when my staff goes into the buildings, they work with students that maybe have a very significant concern, or teachers who are really struggling, and so it's hard for them to leave work at work.
Yep. And there's some children that have to have that they have a special education assistant,
Yes,
special
sir.
ed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not saying it right, I'm sure, but they have somebody with them throughout the day.
Absolutely. So that's a 1-to-1. And that is in very extreme cases. And it could be for medical reasons, because they have certain medical things going on that they need to have somebody else there with them, or it could be for behavior,
right.
Or it could be for just like time to task and things like that with the education itself. And so there's a plethora of reasons, and but whenever we put a 1-to-1 with a student, it's an intervention. We're trying to help that student, but what we really want to do is help that. An intervention is not something that the goal of an intervention is not to be there forever. And so what we really want to do is build that independence. And we start off with that 1-to-1 person and try to work on that student's independence. And then we start to pull that 1-to-1 back. You know, maybe they don't walk to recess with them,
Right.
or maybe they don't go into the cafeteria and sit with them at lunch, you know, things like that.
Both of them get a break.
Both of them get a break. And the student, I really want the student to have some social time, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's a really good part of school,
Yes.
you know,
Oh,
is
yeah.
social time.
Yep.
So I want them to enjoy it.
Great stuff. Thank you. Maybe in this final segment that will be coming up on here in a little bit, maybe we'll talk about something that's really has grown, autism.
Oh, yes.
So we'll do that. We'll take our second break and be back here in just a few minutes. And you are listening to the WGNS Roundtable with your host, Rick Hall and Wayne Blair.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTR-CM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
All right, fellas, June is National Men's Health Month, which is a good time to remind you to take care of your health. I recommend going to Low T Center. That's where I get my levels checked. It's typically completely covered by most health insurance, and if you don't have insurance, it's less than $100 for full labs and an office visit with the provider. Low T Center specializes in men's health, making it quick and easy. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's health care.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning again, and welcome back to the third and final segment of the WGNS Roundtable with your host, Rick Hall, and myself, Wayne Blair. This morning, our guest, and she's been very informative, is Dr. Annie Ralston, who is the Special Education District Coordinator for Rutherford County Schools. Maybe this segment, in my time with the school board, saw this challenge or issue just continue to grow, and I don't know if it's continuing to grow it as of today, but autism. And I know there's varying degrees, but just seems like it really has mushroomed over the years.
Sure, yeah. So there are, that is a diagnosis that I think doctors are diagnosing people with a little bit more now. Maybe they know more about autism. But autism, the best way I can describe students with autism is they are awesome, and they just think differently.
Sure.
And golly, when I was a teacher, whenever I was in my class, I taught social studies. So I would teach the same lesson 6 times. And I don't know if you can tell by me sitting here, but I wiggle and I move because I cannot sit still, and I get bored with teaching something that the same way for 6 times. So I always asked for all the inclusion classes. I would like all of the inclusion classes because I get to have a different conversation with the students in each class because they steer the conversation. And my students that I had that had an autism diagnosis, their conversation was so interesting and rich, and it had us thinking outside the box all the time. You didn't have to tell kids to think outside the box. They just did it.
Right.
And so, which was just my favorite. So project days and things, whenever we were doing that, it always was so much fun. So then, I know that it is a big gamut. There's a lot of different degree levels of autism or needs or just autism presents itself differently. There's a saying that if you've met one student with autism, that's it. You've met one student with autism. You haven't met all of them.
Sure.
Because autism presents itself very differently in all kids and that have been diagnosed with that. So there are certain things that we know right off the bat that we can help our teachers with as far as, a lot of times students with autism, and really honestly in elementary school, all students love a visual schedule or something that they can mark off throughout
Sure.
the day so that they feel accomplished. I have a to-do list that I mark off every day.
I can't, if I don't write it down, I won't remember to do it. So
yes, exactly.
And I don't know that I have autism.
No, it's human nature, right?
Yeah,
so it
yeah.
just feels good, and it feels good to check stuff off.
Amen.
First thing on my to-do list is make a to-do list, check it off. But those visual schedules, if there are going to be changes to the schedule, letting them know ahead of time about those changes so they can get their minds wrapped around that. So sometimes students with autism are nonverbal, and so we get to think outside the box and try to figure out ways to help them to communicate, because we want them to have a voice, whether they're verbal or not,
Sure.
In their education and in their wants and needs during the day. And so autism is yes, it's more prevalent. But I don't necessarily. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that we are able to recognize what those students have and how we can help them and go from there. And again, thinking outside the box.
Has there ever been a determination as to the cause? I mean, is it just genetic, or
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
And I'm not that kind of doctor.
Right, right. But it seems like it's just something that, started back in the early 2000s.
Sure.
And has just seemed to progress in numbers. And I guess it's just been able to diagnose it more adequately.
That's what I would think is that, and this is just my educational opinion, is that I think that doctors have done studies on the autism diagnosis, and they've been able to pinpoint and diagnose it more frequently, and really dial down to exactly what that student's diagnosis should be instead of just a blanket diagnosis.
Sure.
And so I think that is, I think knowing what the student has when you think that something may be a little bit different is helpful to parents. It's helpful to schools, and it's helpful for their medical team so they can help them.
Someone listening, if say they have a child or a grandchild and they have a question, would like, how would they contact you? Through email?
Email's the best way, because as I said before, I move all the time, so I'm hardly ever at my desk. You can call and leave me a voicemail, and I will get that and return it, or you can email me at ralstona@rcschools.net.
You might want to spell your full name.
I will spell it. Here we go. RALSTONA at rcschools with an S on the end, .net. And then the number at central office is 615-893-5815. And then my extension is 22066.
Are there any summer programs dedicated particularly for special ed students?
Absolutely. So we have extended school year, which is determined by the IEP team in one of their meetings. So, and that is for students who, after a long break like spring break or winter break, they can't recoup their skills that they learned prior to. They can't recoup their skills very well. So they need that constant education. So those long breaks, like summer break, they would not be able to recoup their skills in the fall. Now, we all go through, right, after summer break. I mean, you get a month off or 2 months off, and we're all trying to figure out now where's my parking spot again, and what am I supposed to be doing? But we're able to come back from that in the next day or so, right? Sure. But so for those students who can't, that ESY or extended school year, we have that going on in June, and for then 2 weeks in July.
Oh, okay.
And it's fun. Like, the teachers are doing a great job. They're very supportive of the students and very positive. They're working specifically with each student and what their goals are. And so it's very individualized and targeted. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. I can remember the summer layoff and going, what am I doing?
I know. Yeah. How do I log in? Oh, the worst for me is logging back into my computer. What was my password? Anybody have any idea what my password was? So
and there's some state involvement with. I know you take care of your turf, but I guess the state has some turf in this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the state department is working with our with Elizabeth. She is doing Elizabeth Davis. She is our summer and summer school, but it's summer camp this summer. And so she has kids from all grade levels, from kindergarten, from elementary, and then most of the middle school grades going to summer camp, and then high school has summer school. And so we do have some students who are in inclusion classes that they need to take those summer school classes in high school, or that they are in summer camp for reading or math right now in the elementary or middle schools. And so we are supporting them as well. So we have some staff that are going into those buildings and helping them, but we also have a special education teacher in each of those buildings to provide, any kind of inclusion support. If a student needs a little additional time on something, or they need something read aloud to them, they are providing that service.
Schools and the medical profession are acronyms.
Oh, yes.
What they live by, and the IEP, I think, is what most parents go, what?
I know.
Yes. Remind our audience how an IEP works.
Okay. So an IEP is first thing you need to know about an IEP is that it is a fluid document. So it is nothing that can't be changed as a team. And so it is not the end all be all for the student. If something needs to be adjusted or changed because what the team decided is maybe not working, then call that IEP team back together and let's look at this again, and see if bring suggestions, bring ideas. Let's see what we can add in there to help that student. An IEP starts off with just the medical information, and then it goes into where a student currently is. What are their present levels of performance? And so if we are really targeting that math or reading or vocational type skills or transition from the middle to the high school or something like that, we want to really focus in on where they are at that point. So we pull data because every decision that's made in an IEP has to be data based.
Right.
And not just by one data point. So we look at a couple data points or more, and as a team, then that is decided as to whether it's an area that needs to be focused in on or not. So then you go on, and so with those areas that we need to be focused in on, you have to have like a roadmap on where you're going for that kid. So you have to have a goal, and those goals need to be measurable so you can work on like benchmarking. Okay, so the student is learning, has gotten to this point. Okay, so now let's work on the second benchmark piece to that because we're working to get to that goal. And then after you go through the goals, now how are we going to help them in the classroom to be successful? We know they've got a reading issue. We're working towards this. How can we help them in the classroom? And we provide accommodations.
That's great.
And then we provide intervention services. Where are they going to work on those goals? They're going to work on them during their reading intervention time, which is a service. And then at the end, you talk about how often they're in the least restrictive environment with the same age typical peers. And we talk through extended school year and transportation, and we're good. It's, like I said, it's a fluid document, though. So if and parents can always call and ask questions. And I really want to tell parents, like, you can. It's okay to call and ask questions about your child's IEP. And it's okay to ask for an IEP meeting if you feel like something needs to be adjusted or changed.
Well, thank you for being here this morning. You've been very informative, just something that I think all of us need to understand because of our student population. And God bless you for your effort and your staff as well. So
thank you.
That's pretty cool. We're have had the pleasure of Dr. Annie Ralston this morning. She's the Special Education District Coordinator for Rutherford County Schools. I'm hopeful for Brother Rick to be back next Tuesday, and I hope you'll be back with us at that time. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.